So, the topic of this year is Zihuyav Shel Nesher, identifying the Nesher. And as we're going to talk about, there's a whole bunch of different svaris, lakan or lakan. So the first question someone might ask is Lamay Nafkamina, who cares what the Nesher is? So the first thing is Pasha Pshat, to know when it says Nesher what we're talking about. And the second thing is, the Rambam writes in Hilchas Macholis Asuris that it's a mitzvah essay to know the simonim that separate between a kosher animal and a kosher bird and fish and so on, the ones that are kosher and not kosher. So by studying the bird and starting to know which one it actually is and which one it's not, and learning different things about it, is Nagia al in addition to the fact that we're going to go through different psukim and different gemaras to bring out the different things of what it is. So when it comes to the Nesher Bechlal, when it comes to birds of prey, so we know that it says in the Torah a list of the 24 non-kosher birds, and it's very unclear today which birds are which, meaning the names of Lashon Kodesh, what they are in today. But the first bird that's mentioned is the Nesher. Most commonly it's translated as an eagle, as we'll soon see other opinions as well. But the Bechlal is the word eagle is one type of species, one general species, something called raptors, which is basically a word for all big flying birds of predators. Then there's specific types of condors and vultures and so on. So we're going to talk about really two general opinions, but really there are today people that study the subject have come up with a number of opinions what might be the Nesher. We're going to go through the Svaris, Lakan or Lakan. The Svaris to say that it's an eagle, which is the most common way of translating it, or another opinion that it's the vulture. Those are basically the two main opinions, and we'll see that Rishonim actually discuss it as well, what the Nesher really is. So when you want to study the word Nesher, so the word Nesher is in Tanakh. There's something called a Concordatia. Concordatia is a sefer which any word that you want to know, you can look it up, and the Concordatia will tell you how often it comes up. So the word Nesher is mentioned in Tanakh altogether 26 times, either as the word Nesher, or Nisharim, or Han Nesher, or Kan Nesher, or Kin Nesher, and so on. So from these 26 times, some of the places it just mentions the Nesher in passing. Some of the places it mentions the Nesher as more of a general thing without getting into details. But in a number of places in Torah, it mentions, or Tanakh, it mentions Nesher with identifying simonim, certain things about it. So Mamela, from those places we see how the Torah describes what the Nesher is. So based on that we can see, based on the eagle or the vulture, and to see which one is a fit. So we're going to go through only some of the descriptions. There are really many more, but these are the main ones. It's in Chumash Dvarim where the pasuk describes the Nesher as Kinesher Yoir Kinoi, like the Nesher wakes up his nest. Al Geizolav Yerachef, it hovers over his little baby birds. Yifreis Knafa Vikacheyu, he spreads out his wings and he takes them. Yisrael Levrosai, he carries them on his wing. That's in Dvarim. Then there's a pasuk in Yecheskel, part of a whole mashal, where the pasuk says, Har Nesher HaGodel, the big Nesher, G'doila Knafayim, and has the big wings, Erech HaEver, Malei HaNoitza, with a lot of feathers, Ashalei HaRikmo. And we'll see later what that means. There's another pasuk in Micha which says Harchivi Karchosech Kanesher, that your boldness like the Nesher. And then there's an Eiv. In Eiv there's a number of psukim which describe the Nesher by saying Imal Picha Yakbia Nesher, he lifts himself up, V'chiyarim Kinoi, Misham Chafar Eifel Lemeirachek Einav Yabito, Uvasher Chalolim Shamu. So as we'll go through each of these rayas, each of these psukim, explaining what they mean and seeing what it fits. So the first one is Kenesher Yorikina Yogazolav Yerachef, which Rashi teaches to mean that the Nesher is Noyeg Berachamim Ubechemlo Albanov. That he doesn't come to his nest suddenly, rather he comes from far and he makes noises, and he comes from tree to tree, from branch to branch, this way that the baby birds, that you should be awake when he comes, and they shouldn't be startled when he comes. So this description of the Nesher, so as far as I have been able to find out, not eagles and not vultures are seen specifically to do this. Both of them you can say both ways, that they come suddenly or they come with a few moments of advance notice to their babies. So this pasuk is really a pasuk which this description can go either way on in an eagle or a vulture, or maybe there are other birds which can be described this can be a better description for them. Next part, let's continue this same pasuk. The pasuk says, Yifreis knafa v'kacheyu sa'ir lavrasi. So Rashi says, K'shaba litlon mimokim lamokim, when the Nesher comes to take his baby birds from place to place, Einay noitlon beraglav kishar oifes, he doesn't take them with his claws, picking them with his feet, basically like other birds carry them. And Rashi says, why? Other birds are afraid of the nesher, shu magbia lauf, upereach aleim, it flies higher than them. Lefichach, other birds, noisam beraglo v'pnei nesher. They're afraid that the nesher will, if they carry them on their backs, the nesher will come down and eat them or take them away. Aval nesher eina yori ela min achetz. The nesher is only afraid of an arrow coming from below from a person. Lefichach, therefore, Noisan al knafov, he carries his baby birds on his wings. Aimer, he says, Mutav sheikones achetz bi, v'lo yikones v'bonai, better I should take the arrow, not my children. So this is all a mashal for the Eibishter, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, v'esa eschem al kanfin d'sharim, Hashem Kivyachol takes us on his wings, k'shenosu mitzrayim achareim v'yisigu malayam, when the Egyptians chased after us, and they came, they met us by Yamsuf, they were throwing arrows and stones at the Yidden. And the Malach came, and the Kivyachol absorbed the arrows and the stones to protect us, just like what the Pasuk describes about a Nesher. So this description of Nesher is really a very hard one, because if you want to search the internet today, you can find pictures of eagles with birds on them, or vultures with birds on them. But obviously, most of these pictures are photoshopped, and even the ones that might be real, which pashas they aren't, they're not their own babies. There is no, as far as scientists have found, there's no places where they've seen birds taking any kind of bird, not the eagle, not the vulture, taking its babies on its back. But what's interesting is that even birds that take their babies in their claws almost never happens. There's something called an ornithologist. Ornithologists are people that study birds. They have only spotted 16 species that they carry their baby birds in their claws, and even that was very rare, and it doesn't happen often. This is a list of some of those species. So basically, scientists haven't found any method, meaning when it comes to animals, there's many pictures, you can see it in zoos even sometimes, where animals take their babies, they hold them either by their mouth, they pick them up, since the mother bites the baby animal by its neck and carries it like that, or they carry them on their back sometimes, but by birds carrying their babies, not in their claws, not on their feet, and not on their wings, either one. So this description of what the Pasuk says cannot be found not by an eagle, not by a vulture, although there is officially a sighting of someone that said that he one time saw a golden eagle training its baby birds to fly. So he saw the golden eagle took its baby birds off a cliff, and it dropped them, and the baby birds started flapping their wings, and the mother eagle swiftly dropped down below it, and if the baby bird was able to start flying, then good, and if not, the mother eagle caught the baby on its back, and then brought it back up to the top of the cliff again. But that was a very rare instance. There's no videos or pictures of that. It's just documented that people claim to have seen it, but even that doesn't fit to what what Rashi said, that he flies high to protect them, that you don't find at all. So again, this description of carrying on its back is something which does not, Kopanim, clearly fit, not the eagle, not the vulture. The next raya was the description was in Yecheskel, where the pasuk says, "Hanasher agodu gdela knafayim," big wings. Which big wings? Many of these birds have bigger wings, some bigger than others, but some of them can easily be 6 or 7 feet from tail to from edge to edge. Side by eagles, side by vultures. But then the pasuk says, "Erech ha'ever mali hanoitza asher lo harikma." So Rashi says harikma means noitzasai noe umitzuyeres, that its feathers are nice and designed very nicely. So obviously, if you ask a regular person which bird has the nicest feathers, most people will say the peacock. A peacock is known to have nice feathers, very beautiful, and it likes to spread them out to show off. But l'chayra by eagles and vultures, so you can say that there are some pictures that make the eagle look very fancy, and there's a certain majestic view to its wings, to its feathers. But then by eagles, but then by vultures, you can also say the same thing. This is a vulture, and then there's vultures that have even colorful feathers. Many different types of species out there. So b'meila, this pasuk can be described for both of them. The pasuk is not saying it's the most beautiful feathers of all the birds. It just says it has nice feathers. So really, this pasuk can also go both ways. Sai for saying the Nesher is an eagle, Sai saying it's a vulture. Next pasuk says in Micha, it says Harchivi karchasech konesher, you're boldest like a Nesher. So some people that don't know right away say, oh, well, fine, bold, obviously a bald eagle. We all know the bald eagle, so that's l'chayra. The pasuk is clearly talking about that. But really, that's a very big mistake, because the pasuk says "Archivi karchasech," like the boldness of the eagle, and the Ramban points out "Hanesher akireyachu hanesher." So the bald eagle is not bald. If you see the picture, it's obvious the bald eagle has feathers all over its head. versus the vulture is taka bold. The vulture clearly Hashem made it in such a way that it only has feathers up to his neck. So why is the bald eagle called bald eagle? That's really a mistake, because bald used to, in one of the old English languages, used to be it meant white. So it was called the bald, the white-headed eagle, because since Hashem made it in such a unique way that its head has white feathers and the rest of the body has black feathers, so they called it the white-headed eagle, the bald-headed eagle, and for that became bald, but it's not bald at all. Versus the vulture, Hashem made it bald because, as we'll see later, the vultures, they put their heads into carcasses, and there's a lot of flies and insects over there. So in order for its head not to get dirty with all the things that it's eating, Hashem made that his head should be without feathers. So Adarabah, from this pasuk, which at first glance is an eye for the bald eagle, if you realize really how the bald eagle looks, you realize that Adarabah, it's an eye, like the Ramban says, that a bald, it's really an eye that it should be a vulture, because bald, the vulture is actually bald. However, there's another taich that Rashi says. And Rashi says that karchosech means kenishra the natru gatfoi derech hanesher lemarit reiv knofov. That not that he's actually bald, rather that he constantly is pulling out his feathers like the nesher pulls out his feathers. And this is eagles taka do that. They there's a seder that they take out their old feathers. There's a whole system how they do it, and then slowly but surely they grow new feathers. And this applies to all of the feathers on its body. But really, this thing, it's called molting. But this behavior is by many big birds, and mamela can even be by vultures as well. So therefore, if you touch harchibi karchasech like the Ramban, seemingly that it means a nesher akireach, it's a vulture. But if you learn like Rashi, then this pasuk of karchasech and nesher can mean both of them equally, side the eagle and side the vulture. Next pasuk it says, "Im alpicha yakbiya nosher." You're raising that you're going to rise high like a nosher. So the Malbim says that the nesher yakbiya oif yoser mikol ha'oifes. He flies higher. Now, the highest flying bird that was ever recorded is called the griffin's vulture, but that was officially a pilot that was flying 37,000 feet altitude, and he saw the griffin vultures. Most birds cannot fly so high, but even the griffin vulture that he could fly so high, that was a few times, there were a few sightings and numerous sightings of pilots, but b'derech klal, they don't fly so high. There are certain birds that they live where certain mountains are, so over there they more consistently fly very high. So it says the highest flying bird you can argue, does it mean that it's able to fly the highest recorded? In that case, it would be the vulture. Or the pashat flies very high all the time, and in that case, it can also be eagles. It can be eagles also fly very high, and vultures, and really both of them are not necessarily the highest flying on a consistent kind of basis. So if you learn the pasuk that it's the highest flying mamish that was ever recorded, meaning the pasuk is not going by statistics, what could fly high then would be the vulture, but otherwise it can be also the eagle. The pasuk then says, "V'chi yorim kinoi." So the Malbim says, "V'chen yorim kinoi b'mokim gavoya ma'od ba'avasi esbonov." Because the nesher loves his children, so it makes it in a nest in a very high place, then no one should come and its baby should be safe. So this vayter can learn both ways, because there are vultures that make their nests very high in the top picture, and then there are eagles that make their nests very high. But really, eagles are different types of eagles. And actually the bald eagle, the way it works is the bald eagle doesn't even make its own nest. The bald eagle usually finds nests of other big birds and chases them away, and then it just makes the nest a bit bigger for itself. So it's wherever the younger birds, other birds made their nest, that's where it makes its nest. So we made this pasuk again, and then the idach, most vultures make their nest on the ground in lower places. So a bird that always makes its nest dafka in a high place, birds that live by mountains, obviously that's where they're making their nests. But a species of bird that always makes its nest in a high place, weiter, not the eagle, not the vulture, will be able to win this pasuk to be the nesher. Another pasuk is Misham Chafar Eifel Meirachik Einav Yabitu, that the nesher can see from far. So seeing from far is yadua that all big birds have very good eyesight, and from very far away they can see whatever they're trying to hunt. So that's explained about the eagle's eye and the human eye. I don't understand this picture. Those that understand how the eye works can appreciate it more. But obviously you see that it's a very big difference the way Hashem made it. And for this reason that the eagle is flying the whole time, so it has to be able to see further away. So definitely all big birds have better eyesight than humans. But if you want to touch the pasuk as the best eyesight, that can be an argument. But derech klal, it's explained. It's said eagles have a better eyesight, and one of the ways of explaining it is imagine being able to see an insect on the street when you're on the top of a 10-story building, looking down and seeing a tiny little thing. That's officially the comparison of what an eagle can see. And another example they say is that an eagle can see a rabbit from 2 miles away. Le'idach, vultures also have keen eyesight. It says they can see a 3-foot carcass from 4 miles away in open plains, and so on and so forth. So the Mela, again, it's in order to have this answer properly, you have to have an eagle and a vulture sit them in a room and have a test, an eye test, and see who can see better. Which obviously is not shaykh. This is all what scientists have observed and assumed that that's what they're seeing. Which again, both of them can see both very good. In general, it's accepted that eagles have better eyesight than the vultures. Last pasuk in Eov is Ubasher Chalolim Shamhu. Wherever there are carcasses or corpses, that's where he is. So this is what Pashtus a description of the vultures, because vultures b'derech klal do not kill. Vultures b'derech klal will find animals that die or animals that were killed by other animals, and then they're going to come in and eat it, and they circle around till a whole bunch of them come, and they try to chase away the animal that killed if they're able to, and then they eat. Mashenkin, eagles usually will kill their own food, and the b'derech klal they're not going to go and eat carcasses. So that's so this pasuk is l'chayra a stronger raya dafka to vultures, not to eagles, because eagles, even though we will have cases where eagles will find, especially in this area, a lot of times you drive on the highway, you see a dead deer, you'll see an eagle eating it, so it happens, but that's because the eagle has the food. But in the wild, b'derech klal, the eagle will go and eat its own food, kill its own food, versus the vultures will usually just wait for an animal to die, someone else to kill. So this pasuk is more of a raya to the vulture out of all the other psukim. This was all psukim. Then we have Simonim and Chazal as well, describing the Nesher. So the Gemara in Chulin, in Samachalef Amadal, the Gemara talks about Nesher over there. The Gemara really talks about kosher birds and not kosher birds. So usually it's accepted that when it comes to animals, we have this famous Simonim of split hooves and chewing its cud as a kosher animal, but by birds, it's whatever is not on the list of the Torah of the non-kosher birds are kosher. But the Gemara there says that there are a whole bunch of Simonim, and the Gemara says that the following are 4 Simonim, are 4 not kosher Simonim. And the Gemara says, Nesher, the Gemara says, it gives a list of the 24 non-kosher birds. The Gemara says that most of the non-kosher birds only have some of the bad simon. But the Nesher has all bad simon. What are the bad simonim? That it does not have an etzba yesera, literally an extra finger. Ve'ein le'zefek, it doesn't have a crop. It's a part of the stomach. Ve'ein kurkavani niklaf, that means a gizzard, another part of the stomach. It cannot be peeled. V'doides ve'oichel. So these are the simanim of the Nesher, that it does not have the etzbe yesera, it does not have the zefik, and its kurkavan is not niklaf, cannot easily be peeled, and it is doides ve'oichel, it does prey and it kills. So that's how the pasuk describes Mashenkin. The kosher birds do have a etzbe yesera, they do have a zefik, their kurkavan is niklaf, and they are not doides ve'oichel. So the question is, what are these 4 simon? So the first one, she'ein li etzba yesera, is actually, there's a different opinion what it means. Rashi says it means a larger finger behind, meaning you have the claws of the bird, so the front claws, the front fingers coming out, and then there's a back finger coming out from the back a bit higher up. So Rashi says the Nesher does not have that. The Ra'ah says it means the middle finger, the middle thing sticking out, that the 3 fingers, I will soon see a picture, that the Nesher does not have this middle finger. And then we have an interesting Taisvis over here in Chulin that says the Rishonim that say that the Nesher is a Agila, very seemingly, Taisvis is obviously talking about an eagle, Agila, and he says Vihi Yeshla Etzbe Yesera. So Taisvis says that the eagle that people think is a Nesher is not the Nesher, because the Gemara says it has no Etzbe Yesera, but the eagle does. So this is a picture of eagle claws. As you can see, in the back it has a finger sticking out, and also the middle finger sticks out slightly more than the other 2 on the side. So the Mele, according to Taisvis, this obviously the eagle is not the Nesher. However, if you try to get to the vulture claws, you have the same problem. The vulture has the finger sticking out, and its middle finger sticks out longer. So side according to Rashi, side according to the Ra'ah, not the vulture and not the eagle have an etzbeh. They both do have an etzbeh. They're not the real Nesher, because the Nesher does not have an etzbeh yesera. So in order to answer this, what's the right Nesher, you have to go study all the claws out there of all the birds and figure out which one it is, which one doesn't have to be a Seder. So from all these ones, the one in the middle top, what's called the osprey, you see it has 2 in the back and 2 in the front. So maybe that's the one that has no Etzbei Seder, but most people say that's one of the other 23 birds. So Al-Kapani, there's many species, so this is this question about what's the Etzbei Seder, which is the Nesher, which does not have the Etzbei Seder, only 3 claws in the front, that they're all the same size, is a very hard one to answer. Some say that the back foot, if it doesn't go higher, it's on the same height, like most of these in these pictures. Most of them are at the same height, so then maybe that's considered as Be'esera, because it's not as Be'esera because it's not higher up. So then the Nesher would be the one that could they say it could be an eagle or the vulture because it's not going up high. But you see, Tosfos clearly said that it cannot be the eagle. The next 2 simanim are regarding the insides of the stomach. So the way it works is that this is like a kosher bird is a pigeon. This is more or less a picture that looks on the inside. So that's one section called the crop, and then there's the gizzard. And after when you shech the chicken, you can take out the gizzard and you can peel off the outside. That's called kukurvani niklaf. So this obviously there has not been a lot of study about it because people don't eat eagles and vultures usually. So they have a picture. This is how the inside of an eagle looks. The inside of the vulture, I forget which one is which. One of them was a picture of when I got the pictures, I remembered which one was it. I forget now. But Halifin, so go figure exactly over here what's considered the crop and what's considered the gizzard. And was Tutzach Dorten, so there isn't a lot of study over here. So both of them can fit. I would assume that all of these big birds don't really have these zefeks and these kurkov and niklaf, but that's only these middle 2 simon. Then we have the last simon. The last simon is v'doires v'oichel. That the Nesher is yet doides v'oichel. What does doides v'oichel mean? So here right we have a number of pirush. Rashi says nearly shekol oif hanoisen raglei ala oichel kshu oichloi umachzike beraglei shalayanud, that any bird that with one foot, with one claw, he's holding down the food that he's eating, it shouldn't move around. Well, and then he slaps with the other hand. So really what Rashi is saying is, lahavdil, when a person's eating a piece of flesh, sometimes a bacher or a person will hold on to the flesh with one fork, and with the other fork he's going to slap off. According to Rashi, that's considered doides v'oichel. Rashi is the same idea. You're basically holding on. Meaning Rashi says if you take bites, small bites, and eat it, it's fine. But when you're holding down with one, slapping the other one, that's considered drisa. Rabbeinu Tam says doides means doides v'oichel michayim, that he kills it and he eats the bird, he eats whatever he's eating while he's still alive, while the prey is still alive. Ve'inei mamtin lo acha tomus. That's Rabbeinu Tam's prat. And the Ramban says doides means hoirek b'tzipornov, he kills with his claws. That's how he kills the food that he's eating. So weiter over here, a picture of an eagle holding it down like Rashi described. So B'meila, the eagle in this case would be Yed Doides V'oichel, would be a Yagud Siman. Then again, you also have a picture of an eagle eating even while it caught a fish, while the fish is still alive. So that's a right to Rabbeinu Tam's pshat, that an eagle could be a case, according to this Siman, a fist to the Nesher. And then we have killing B'tziparnov, so that's the way the eagles kill B'tziparnov. However, l'chayra, all 3 rayas, all 3 descriptions are only according to the eagle, mashenk and the vulture. But derech klal doesn't kill, as we said before, and it eats not the way Rashi described, not the way that Rabbeinu Tam described. So l'chayra, doides v'oichel would be a strong raya that it's dafka an eagle, not a vulture, because the vulture is not doides v'oichel. Even though we said before, Tosfos says not, but al kapanim, this siman can be found. Maskona Sadvarim, we have all the simonim. So basically, when it comes to Nesher, Yor, Kinoi, they're equal. As far as I know, as far as I went to the research, Yisrael Lavrosai on its wings, they're both also equal. We don't know. Roi Harikmo, nice feathers. L'chayra, both of them are good. Karchosech Kanesher. So the vulture, according to the Ramban, is clearly like that. According to Rashi, it can be also maybe the eagle, maybe not. Yagbia Nesher, flying high, both of them are good. Yordim Kinoi, high nest, both of them are good. Lemeirochik, Einav Yabitu, good eyesight, are both of them. Chalolim Shamu, going to corpses, l'chayra, that's more of a right to the vulture, not to the eagle. Etzbei Yeseda, so we have the different opinions. Based on different opinions, you can go both ways also. Zefik and Kurkovin is both of them. Doides v'oichel is eagle and no vulture. So basically, all in all, it's pretty equal. There isn't a strong proof either way which one is the vulture, which one is the Nesher, either the vulture or the eagle. So what's the maskana taka? What do we say? It's not Nagel and Maisa. They're both not kosher and both not Nagel really. So what the Mefarshim talk about, and they bring out, there's 2 interesting answers that are said. One answer is the Yereim on the Rishonim writes that even though the Nesher doesn't have all the Simanim, Amrini Nishtanu Olav Simne Beresh, Simani Bereshis, which means that even though we don't say, when it comes to evolution, obviously we know that Abisha created all the human beings, it created everything else, but there's definitely over time animals that got affected by the surroundings to certain points, that they're slightly different than they were originally. That's why we have subspecies and so on. So the Yereim says that it could be that the eagle is taka, is the real Nesher. All the Simanim don't fit because over time the eagle changed. Or it could be the vulture for that price. And the same beer, that even though you can't find a bird that has all the Simanim, Sayav Tanakh and Sayav the Gemara, but you can just say that the Nesher changed over time, and that's why we can't find the bird that fits the bill. Another answer, the Pri Megadim says, we must say that there are two types of Nesher. And Mamela, when the Torah describes Nesher, Mishnais describe Nesher, so we're describing different birds. Sometimes it's this one, sometimes it's that one. And indeed, when it comes to eagles, for example, there's more than 60 different species of eagles all over the world, in Europe and Africa and America and so on, in Australia. So Mamela, when you say Nesher, you never know which one you're talking about. It could be in one place when the pasuk says Nesher, it means one bird, another place a different one. And according to that, it's not a kasha that you can't find one bird with all the simonim because it's in different places. And the same thing applies to vultures. They're all together. Again, what's accepted is that there's 23 types of vultures out there. So right there, you can say that the vulture is the real Nesher, and it's just that you couldn't find the right one, because you're trying to find one with all the simanim. The pasuk is talking about different ones. So the Maskarna said, there is no clarity what the Nesher is. Some people do claim that they know for sure the Nesher is the vulture. Some say the eagle. But based on my little research that I was able to come up with, there is no clarity. Mashenkin, whatever, unless we say what the Yereim says. So if you say what the Yereim says, then it can be either the eagle or the vulture, or you can say what the Pri Megadim says, that maybe they're both considered Nesher. Side the eagle, side the vulture, just different types. The Nesher, according to Chassidus, what does Chassidus have to say about Nesher? So there's a Maimer of the Rebbe in Tavshin Yutes, where the Rebbe describes the Nesher means according to Chassidus. The Rebbe brings that in Merkeves Yecheskel Hanavi saw a chariot Kivyachol with Hashem sitting on it, Kivyachol, with 4 different animals, and the animals that were there, so one of them was the face of a lion, the face of an ox, the face of a Nesher, whatever Nesher may be, and the face of a human being. So the Rebbe says that Nesher is the Prin of Tiferes, Midas Shel Yaakov, Midas Harachamim, She Bekava Emtzoi. So Nesher is the middle path. And the Rebbe says on the 4 animals that are on the Merkava, so Pnei Arya is on the right, Pnei Sher is on the left, and Pnei Adam, Pnei Nesher, they're both in the middle line. And the only thing is, Pnei Adam is higher up, the level of Das of Malchus, and Nesher is lower down, is Tiferes the Malchus. And that's what the Rebbe continues to Nesher Yor Kinoi Shekol Aliyah Shebe'ein Aroich. When you're going up in a way that's Mamish Ein Aroich, is through the Pnei Nesher Kava Emtzoi, because the Kava Emtzoi that goes up to Pnimius HaKeser. So even though the Nesher is lower down, but that gives us the koyach to be Oila Lamaila till Pnimius HaKeser. And then he says by Matan Torah, which says, why Dafkin by Matan Torah Hashem took us out of Mitzrayim by Neshorim? Because by Matan Torah we had to go from a very low place, because at that time we were in Mitzrayim, we were in the Maktesh Arituma, so you had to go from the lowest place very quickly all the way to the highest place. Because as we know that it says, if Yidden would have been stayed in Mitzrayim, even Keheref Ayin, Chas V'Sholom, they would have been stuck over there. So you needed someone, some Madrege, to take them out from the lowest place to the highest place very, very quickly. And for that, they needed to have the Nesher Dafka, to bring mamish to meet the atzmus, and such an aliyah can only be through kavim kanfin the shorim dafka, which is the kav ha'emtzoi. That's the meaning of Pnei Nesher, taking from the lowest place to the highest place in a very quick kind of way. And then he brings another thing that from the Arizal writes. Is a pasuk Shlomo HaMelech says there are 3 things I don't understand. They're too wondrous for me. One of them is derech hanesher b'shamayim. So that Arizal explains that Shlomo HaMelech is wondering that the Pele is that the Nesher was an Oif Tamei. How can he be in the Merkav Elyon? That's what Arizal writes. That the Pele of Shlomo HaMelech is, how can the Nesher be in the Merkav Elyon? So the Rebbe Rashab and the Rebbe asked in a Maimer, what's the big Pele about Nesher? The Arya is also a Chayat Meya, and it's also in the Merkava. So why is he asking Dafka about the Nesher? And the answer is that since the Aryas of the Kava Yamin is on the side, so when it goes Lamaila, it doesn't go to the highest place. It only reaches Chitzaynis HaKeser. So that's why it's not such a big Pele, it's not such a big miracle that the Arya is able to reach, is in the Merkava. But the Pele is on the Nesher, and since the Nesher reaches Plimius HaKeser, the level of Atik, which is Ein Aroich, so that's the Kasha, that's the big Shaila. How is it possible for the Nesher to be in the Merkava all the way? If it's a Chayat Mei, I can reach through the Merkava all the way to Plimius HaKeser. Ad kan.